Do you know why? Do you know why the world leans on Google so much?
Because they got rid of Jeeves.
No, because in the 70s, we signed a contract, the federal government did, 68, I believe, that said that if and when, or had already occurred, we come into contact with extraterrestrial species, Google is required under this contract to negotiate the communications and decrypt language.
Hold on. So in 1968,
Yep.
Google was a company.
Yep.
And Google was tasked with talking to aliens.
Yep.
I don't think any of that's true.
I don't think it's true at all.
We're singing Hampshire Valley in my old Kentucky home. Kentucky.
3, 2, 1. David. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Kentucky Commons Radio Hour. My name's John Ronayne. I am joined by David Satterley and Michael Moeller.
What up?
We're here at the Louisville Ale Trail headquarters at Brewgrass Umber Supply. Just got in 3 pallets of grain today, so if I'm a little bit worse for the wear, unloading grain in we had a terrible blizzard blow through. There's a few flurries out there, which in Louisville kind of shuts everything down.
There was no ground cover.
Yeah, I know. Just
My
giving
dog
myself an excuse
didn't
to be
even
tired.
mind. My dog didn't even mind the snow.
My dogs hate the snow.
Yeah.
All right, we have a few topics to discuss with you guys this week. While we're talking, we just got an order in today, and first thing that kind of was just jumping around in my brain, you hear about it in the news. Inflation, baby. Inflation has at least come to the homebrew industry. I was putting in our order on Sunday, and I would say 6 or 8 months ago, all the Belgian stuff, actually it was longer than that. It was while Trump was still president. All of the Belgian grains went up like 100% in price to get those imported. And when I was putting in our order last week, it had jumped to the English stuff, was up about 100%. Like a sack of grain is twice as much as it was.
What's wrong with good old domestic American
Well,
grain?
that's my segue, is like looking at these like local maltsters and stuff where I'm talking about, shopping local, and we're all talking about kind of trying to get our supply chain back closer to home. That looks like it might start applying to beer too.
Yeah, because you're going to pass that on to consumers.
I'm not. That's why I was like actually digging into all these numbers. Is like, am I going to have to raise my prices? At some point, maybe grain will have to go up a little bit. I'm going to give it at least a few weeks, and I'll just kind of, the answer to my conundrum was not to order it. So we're out of Maris Otter malt right now. I've got a few sacks that I'm still sitting on, but when it's gone, because I don't want to charge people, $4 for a pound of grain.
John Ronayne, capitalist at heart.
Well, yeah.
Pragmatist.
Yeah.
IRL.
It's all pragmatism at the end of the day. But yeah, so fortunately, we grow a ton of hops in America. The contracts seem to have gotten all kind of jumbled with all the kind of unknowns in the craft beer industry about how much people are going to be doing, and a lot of that stuff sold on contract.
I know Brian Roth, beer writer and famous beer Twitter guy. Really nice guy, good beer hunting. He shared a funny meme the other day that I found endearing. It was the Wolverine laying on the bed with the picture frame.
Yes.
And the meme was like
X-Men Wolverine?
Yeah, X-Men
okay.
Wolverine.
Yeah.
Yep. Not the
I always
the animal.
see that one in reference to Dogecoin prices.
Right.
Like, remember when?
Well, Wolverine was holding this ad that was clearly from, years ago when you could get a 12-pack of like Sam Adams beer or Dogfish Head or something for $11.99.
Ooh, yeah. Those are the days.
I saw a $30 4-pack go up today.
Yowza.
What was that?
I'm not saying it's unwarranted.
Sure.
Inflation.
Inflation.
Helium is very expensive.
Indeed.
But this was actually at Highwire, and they produce in volume, so it was a little shocking, but it's by and large not the highest price I've seen. I mean, you've got national breweries doing $50-ish bottles.
Yeah.
But yeah, to see something of that caliber, it was for context, it was a massive stout with several adjuncts. It was along the lines of their 1050 series, which is 10W or
10W.
garbled it all.
Yeah.
It's a 20W50
That's right.
W, which is like a reference to
Motorola.
mortar.
Mordor.
I give up.
Yeah.
Anyways,
Hey, the Amazon Lord of the Rings trailer this week.
it's a big stout, but yeah, I was like, a little sticker shock, but
Yeah.
relevant.
You know, we see these prices going up in all these beers, and we're talking about, you know, big beer releases costing more money than they probably ever cost before. I did just see that Glendronach, might be mispronouncing that, but it was a Scotch whiskey producer owned by Brown-Forman. They are releasing their oldest bottle of whiskey yet.
Ooh.
It's a 50-year-old Scotch, and it is at a price point of $27,000 US
Per bottle?
per bottle.
Oh my God.
50-year-old Scotch.
Holy shit.
So on one hand, I think beer prices have gotten ridiculous. Whether or not you can, justify it or not, I'm not paying some of these prices.
Yeah.
I can't. I literally can't.
You don't have $27,000.
But then, obviously, in the context of the whiskey world,
Do you even like Scotch?
and then you drink the Scotch and you're like,
but no,
so
listen,
good.
listen though, relative to the price points
Yeah.
that people are paying in the wine and spirits category,
Yeah.
beer is still relatively cheap.
Indeed.
I think the bubble will burst on it eventually. There's got to be an upper limit. When you think about craft beer, it's really like, hey, hi, parallel to Dry January. Not buying beer actually saves you a lot of money.
Yeah.
Counter to this entire podcast and everything we stand for. However,
Well, that's kind of what because I was thinking about that too. And it's like, it's not even really, if I just want, beer, you can get cheap beer. But usually when I drink stuff, it's more about having like an experience of going out to buy something special that I can share with people,
And
or going
there's
to a tap room.
there's just gonna be an upper limit to that, to what you do. I mean, a total glutton, but I mean, there like I said, there's national bottles that retail at $50 and only release once a year and really special, and I buy them every time. Because
So we should blame you for all of this. is what you're saying.
you feed the beast. But it's a one-time thing. I couldn't imagine more than that.
Yeah.
You're also a very special type of consumer, and I'm not saying that like in a rude way, but like you're not the average person that drinks beer.
Yeah,
you're somebody on the other end of the spectrum.
Well, what is the value? What makes a beer worth $50? Like in your opinion, or in any of our opinions?
Oh, absolutely nothing.
Yeah. Is it like the clout? Is it the
no? Not hype chasing. Generally speaking, they're very good. This is in the category of like barrel aged stout. That's very nuanced blending from different years, different barrel finishes. If anyone hasn't figured it out, I'm referencing BBT from Side Project almost explicitly.
I knew that.
Yeah, it's once a year.
I didn't know.
Me neither.
It's a non-adjuncted stout called BBT, Beer Barrel Time. There's only 3 technical adjuncts. They go through and they blend it, all to taste. So every year it's a different blend. It's a little bit different nuance. And like I said, with the barrel finishes and the original beers that go in them, it comes out to be pretty special.
Yeah. So you're almost kind of like the value is
The tradition,
and then just them giving that extra attention to it of like the blending and the barrel aging. And I'm sure they pick those barrels.
You're
and,
paying for a very curated experience for sure. So it's
like love vicariously through beer.
Yeah, but back to your point with imports, I mean, the other famous Belgium Limbic producers.
Yeah.
Not to denigrate them, but I mean, their prices regularly go much higher than that.
Sure.
And then you pay shipping overseas. So there's a market out there for it. But it was.
And so people assume those beers are aged for a long time. And, a lot of the times they are. But a lot of the times that stuff's cut more with like fresh beer than you might think.
Certainly.
Just out of curiosity, let's say a 5-year-old BBT bottle. Do you know what the price on secondary would be for that?
Well, they haven't made 5 of them yet.
Okay,
so.
Whatever. 2, 3, whatever.
I couldn't say. It's funny because in the same way that whiskey does the like barrel picks from different stores and whatnot, there's like more variation that people seek out. So people may like blend 2 much better and blend 3 and have their own biases. But I mean, for ballpark, I've seen them go for like $300-400.
Wow.
Which is insane.
Wow.
And you say, well, it's $50, and there's a whole market of people
It's an investment.
that just show up. Yeah,
it is.
Yeah, they just show up and immediately.
Well, it
flip
still makes more sense to me than NFTs. So
that's
got that going for it.
relevant. Relevant.
All
I
right,
too collected baseball cards when I was a child.
Pokemon, baby.
They were the most significant things I've ever owned.
I've got a good segue while we're talking about import stuff. Anything you guys have any final thoughts on the scarcity, inflation, or why David Satterley pays $50 for beer?
Drink beer that
Because
you like.
I'm on the spectrum, according to Michael.
Of beer buyers. Yes, yes, you are on that spectrum of beer buyers, and you're on one end.
You're on my spectrum of
Whereas-
high quality individuals.
Whereas Grandpa Joe is on the other end, and he's
Yeah.
drinking
but
Michelob.
blank
Yeah,
light.
yeah.
Grandpa Joe has no taste.
Yeah, well, Grandpa Joe was a
Grandpa Joe likes it that way. God damn it.
He was a con artist, and he tricked Charlie into getting him into the candy factory after years of mooching off of his daughter.
don't.
He can't get out of bed for like decades, and then all of a sudden there's a golden ticket. And
What are
he's
those
like,
4 people and
dancing?
doing him in bed, just sharing a room like that all day long?
Michael, do not talk about me when I'm not around.
That doesn't even sound like Uncle Joe.
I will also say that my girlfriend Courtney just read the sequel to that, The Great Glass Elevator.
Oh, it's great.
It's psychotic.
It's so
I read it
weird.
when I was a kid, but I totally forgot about it. Like they go into like outer space and you have to fight these weird aliens, and then they come back and there's like government conspiracies and shit.
Was Gene Wilder in it?
Well,
No,
it was a
but
book.
it's a book.
So yes,
Was Gene Wilder in
Yeah.
it?
Use your imagination.
Gene Wilder, the actor, was in the book. Yeah,
not Johnny Depp. Thank goodness.
Oh, jeez. Yeah, that's so much
almost
worse.
as weird as like the Frank L. Baum original Wizard of Oz series.
Yeah, that was
With,
strange
like,
too.
The Tin Man actually being cursed by the Wicked Witch.
Well, and alleged ties into like the American government going off the gold standard.
Yeah, it had the
This
Scarecrow.
episode, by the way, has gone off the rails.
Yeah, the Scarecrow represented the agriculture.
Yep.
And the Tin Man represented the Industrial Revolution.
Yep. And the Cowardly Lion, I think, was William Jennings Bryant, if I recall correctly. And the Yellow Brick Road was the gold standard leading to the Yellow Brick
Emerald.
City.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Emerald
but that
City.
might be something that like
Oh, and then-
conservative
and then-
talk radio.
And then you
hosts
had
just say.
the ruby shoes in the movie were actually once the silver shoes in the books.
Oh, the silver. Okay, yeah.
So that's another tie.
And then, if you start The Wizard of Oz
Yeah.
on mute and turn on Pink Floyd Dark Side of the Moon,
Have you ever done that? It's actually
Yes, I
legit.
it works.
It's on YouTube. Yeah.
Have you ever done it on weed?
On what?
All right, back to my great segue. Speaking of import,
I'm drinking every time you say segue.
Thank you for listening to another hour of Wizard of Oz talk.
yeah, right, exactly. I did see. I just saw this in the news today, so I guess like maybe BBC, the British Broadcasting Company, or
Brewgrass
corporation.
Balloon Company.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna. I originally could have thought that. There's some kind of an expose they put out on our favorite brewery, Brew Dog.
Love me some
in
Brew
the
Dog.
import and export game. So Brew Dog, I guess, a couple of years ago, when they were trying to set up their, it's in Columbus where they have that like beer
the
hotel. They were trying to import a whole bunch of new products and stuff, and allegedly, I guess we'll say, on their TTB tobacco. What do they call that thing that regulates all the like labels and like
Starts a trademark.
yeah.
Trademark.
Yeah.
Tobacco labels.
Yeah, something like that. I think
Bureau.
it's the TTB.
It's a bureau.
Right? Yeah, it's a
Yeah, it
bureau.
is the TTB.
We're qualified to talk
We're
about
qualified
this.
to talk about this. We've done our research. But when you have to basically declare when you're importing anything, all the ingredients, stuff like that are in it, so that all the agencies can review it and make sure it meets our standards, blah, 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 blah. Apparently, they just made up a lot of shit concerning the like flavorings and some of the like extracts they were using and a lot of the stuff.
You're not calling Brew Dogs liars, are you?
Well, so then the whole kind of follow up on that was them kind of interviewing people who worked there. Or I think a few people kind of came forward, like I don't know if it was anonymously or whatever, but we're just kind of saying that's really just kind of how the culture is here. It came from the top down, and we knew we had to get this stuff to America. And the line of the company is, I don't care, get it done. I don't care, get it done, get it there. We're doing it now. Go, go, go. Which, they're a very successful company. So clearly that pays dividends in their, to their success in some respect. But in violation of like import law. So in my notes on this, I wrote after that nothing burger story, because at the end of the day, is anything going to happen about this?
Yeah.
But I don't know, with as much crap as like American breweries get about what they can put on their labels and all the regulations and rules, it just, I don't know. You guys have any thoughts?
That's enforced by the TTB,
TTB, I believe. That's right.
Tedeschi Truck Band.
Oh, geez, Louise Davis. You can't pull up your phone and then try to fact check me on stuff.
I think lying when importing is very punk.
Yeah.
So yeah, they can do it because they are that punk.
They're punk. They are punk.
And the breweries that are following the rules like suckers, they're not very punk.
Lame. Guinness. No.
Yeah.
No. Don't care.
Consider it calculated risk.
Kind of. And then if you get busted, it's kind of like, driving 15 miles per hour over the speed limit. It's like, yeah, exactly.
It's like being a senator and forgetting to disclose your stock buys.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean,
Right.
it happens all the time.
Yeah.
It's just like, if I'm Nancy Pelosi's husband, God rest her soul.
Yeah.
I just might forget,
Hey, and just to keep it, to shame both sides of the aisle, like Dan Crenshaw, I think, made more money than her off of like his trading deals and whatnot. So it's like corruption on all sides. Corruption from Brew Dog.
There's only
Is
one
that the guy
Brew
with
Dog.
the, is that the guy with the eye patch?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. He's from Texas, I believe.
Yes,
Like the ex-SEAL. And again, it's like, you can't fault humans for behaving like humans. So you can't really blame Brew Dog. But it's like,
corporations are not humans.
well, that's true.
Yeah.
And that's a great point.
Yeah.
So what's the point of this stuff if I guess ultimately we'll have to see if anything happens, but it happened like years ago. Right. So it seems like if anything they get a small fine, that's probably it.
Yeah, it seems kind of flash in the pan.
We'll get very angry at Brew Dog for a second and then move on.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't think anyone's ever been angry at Brew Dog before.
Yeah, I know. Just kind of like, oh, Brew Dog.
Like that investment opportunity.
Yeah.
I mean, seen.
Oh yeah, when they were like,
Okay,
investors, like, be a Brew Dog like ambassador. Or whatever the hell it
I
was.
would say like the one lasting time when people were still upset with them was the well, actually, I'm sure there are plenty of reasons why people are still upset with them. I'm not saying there's the only reason. One for me was when they consistently were accused of trying to hire artists, talent, and marketing, and they just used
for your job application, they'd be like, submit a hypothetical marketing campaign for Brew Dog.
And then they would just like steal it.
Yeah, and not pay you.
and then not hire the person.
Allegedly in Minecraft.
If you have a reason that you don't like Brew Dog, just sound off below. And if you want to hear more about Brew Dog, you can join our Patreon for $3 a month,
Yeah.
where we're going to do a whole episode about Brew Dogs.
Expose.
You said this was a BBC, right, that did it?
I think it was the BBC in England.
Did I ever tell you all about the time that I was on BBC Radio?
No, please do.
But you're American.
Yeah, well,
Brit-
it
Britain's
was it was like 2015 or 2016.
Back in when
This
things
was
actually made
it was
sense.
probably January, I think, because Christmas had just happened, and there was this story that was making the rounds of this priest at midnight mass on a hoverboard. That's when like hoverboards were first
the
becoming
Amazon
famous.
thing.
Yeah. So people were just like, oh, what is the priest doing on a hoverboard during his homily on Christmas mass? And like people were just like sounding off. And
Homilies on hoverboard.
I love it.
It's great,
actually.
yeah.
I love it.
And it was like, I think it was
Why
like,
not?
it was in like Argentina, maybe. It doesn't matter. But like everybody on Twitter was like sounding off
The holy hoverboard.
the holy hoverboard homily. Yeah.
I can picture him with one of those like anointing wands too. Just
One of the
like-
altar boys has to set it for him, and then he puts one foot on it at a time.
Yeah.
Yes.
Ooh,
Well, the holy hop onto the holy hoverboard.
I love it.
I'm going to hell.
Yeah.
But this is too comical.
In
All right,
style.
yeah, continue.
No, so I sounded off on Twitter as well because that's what the world was doing. And then like an hour later, I get a DM from BBC Radio, and they're just like, "Hey, would you like to come onto a program called World Have You Say and talk about this?" Is like, what? You're just talking to some kid in like Clarksville, Indiana, right now, right?
It's amazing.
And so I joined
Good job, David.
with 4 or 5 other individuals from around the country to talk about a priest on a hoverboard and why we aren't that mad about it, or why we are mad about it.
Let's just take a moment to appreciate 2015. That these were the things that were in the news. Like a priest on a hoverboard. I miss these days. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so far ago.
I know.
What was it?
Lifetimes ago.
6 years ago.
You're probably still an embryo back then, I think.
No.
Embryonic state.
Not embryonic, but I was definitely prepubescent. I was just getting out of college.
Love it.
I have a beer to share.
Hell yeah. We're still all on our dry January kick. For those of you watching on Patreon, for those of you listening, if you want to be watching us on Patreon, we'll put the link below. I've got the Lagunitas Hoppy Refresher. It's refreshing.
Well, I thought we were all on dry January, but David's currently trying to crack open a beer from Monic, so
It won't
and
open.
the can won't open. So that's
This is a sign.
Yeah,
It
it
is
is
a
a sign.
the can's not opening. so you
It's
shouldn't
the what was the name of the priest that we just made up?
The Argentinian.
drink. Yeah, that's it.
He is
Not to be confused with the Argentinian that's currently the Pope, but no.
yeah, correct.
Well, you're not drinking that Monic apparently because the
I
can won't
am.
open.
I am.
I've got.
I think that means you need to shotgun it. I think is what that means.
I Partake Brewing sent me some stuff to try. I don't honestly. I think it's New York. Yeah, I think it's New York.
Hell yeah.
Partake Brewing. I've got an IPA and a dark. I don't think we've had any dark NA beers.
Dark.
yet. So yeah, it's
It's like when you go
dark.
to like Olive Garden and order the wine.
It
they're
just
like,
says
you want red
dark.
or white? It's like yes.
Shout out my guy Buddy over at Monic Beer Company making a great saison. All
I'll
time.
also say I think that saison is like our prop beer from like a year and a half ago that we would take on the news and stuff. So
It's still
Has it
hanging
aged well?
on.
Okay,
It's still
excellent,
hanging on.
everyone's dry January is different. So yeah. Yeah? Huh? Foamy?
yeah, a little bit.
Festive.
Give me a little more dark. Thank
A
you.
little bit more dark from Partake.
Well,
All
it
right.
smells
smells roasty.
dark. It looks.
They really went over
Dark.
the marketing budget on that name, didn't they?
It's very creative. People that partake. Yeah. So,
It smells like a firework before you light it.
ooh, yeah, a little dry.
Yeah, it's very dry. No surprise, I suppose, but
Yeah. What do you think?
dark.
As it would imply, yeah.
Not much there. I mean, there's some roasted barley character that kind of comes through. What does it taste like?
To me, I think if you have like old charcoals and you put them in water and then you drink the water.
I can see that, like a charcoal, like a cleansing drink, or like
Yeah.
if you need to pass a drug test or something.
This is
It's not bad. It's not offensive by any stretch of the imagination.
If I cook steaks on my grill and then let the coals dry
Yeah.
and then lick
Lick them.
the drain pan,
yeah.
that's where we're at.
So it's not great, but
Yeah.
it's kind of there if you need to taste some barley.
Well, hey, not to like harp on the NA stuff too much, but man, those athletic NAs, they know what they're doing.
They're fine.
Those are high quality beverages.
It's about as good as they get for like the NA stuff or whatever.
It's
You
fine.
like the Coors Edge more.
Coors Edge was great. Also the Bitburger 0.0 is good. I will say this month I've had more NA beers.
Than I've ever had in my
20
entire life.
days in, exactly. I've had more NA beers.
I think in my
more
entire
variety.
life, I'd had like 3. And then this month, I've probably had 9.
And
So-
then for the next 11 months, you're going to
Damn,
have
you're
0.
fine. Yeah, you're
Yeah.
probably right.
But yeah, this Partake middle of the road to last. I mean, it's somewhere in between there. It's not the worst, but it's not.
It's a real seasonal industry. And by seasonal, I mean month.
January. Maybe a little bit in October.
Yeah, nobody's drinking dark NA Partake in August.
Well, there was another study that just came out that they were, polling people on their taproom and brewery attendance, and apparently it's down nationwide by about 25% in January. Most of the respondents cited our good old friend Omicron as the primary reason.
Sure.
And then I think the second thing was like New Year's resolution / like dry January stuff.
Is it? I wonder if it's down like relative to.
I think they had
Last
said to
2
this time
years.
last year.
Okay.
Yeah.
Last year was pretty bad, too. I'd
Yeah,
be
I
interested in
know.
seeing 2019
Yeah.
and behind. But there definitely seems to be more people on the dry January wave this go around, at least personally. But
Yeah. I still think we
myself
have like
not included.
the pouring 20s are just months away. And even when we did our Louisville Beer Week theme for 2021, like, welcoming back the pouring 20s, because we back then thought that we'd all be like vaccinated and immune and herd immunity and all this stuff. Yeah, we're getting there, but it's taken longer than anybody thought. But then we were looking recently about the 1918 Spanish flu, and that actually didn't taper off until a couple of years into like the 20s, which started the Roaring 20s back then. So maybe
I'm gonna poke fun at ourselves
for
doing a beer release back in May of 2021.
Yeah.
They called it return to normalcy.
Yeah. It felt like it back then. We were like, that was like after the first COVID winter. And it was like you could go outside again, and it was like
rooftop party at Chimera, great beer, awesome event. But then just
the naivete,
the hubris of man,
the hubris of return to normalcy in May of 2021.
You might even say having that on the rooftop deck was us flying too close to the sun.
Yeah, we were going full Icarus. Also, citing more irony in it, it was a shandy.
Yeah,
which is not normal beer. And then when we canned it, we did the side-by-side cans, one can of beer and one can of what was this?
Pink
lemonade snow cone mix.
So you could shandy yourself.
That's not normal at all.
Like, return to normalcy.
A shandy is a very traditional German, maybe not with pink lemonade, mind you, but a shandy is like kind of an older.
None of this was normal.
Yeah.
I just remember that lemon drop blonde though. It's great, and the beer was pretty good too.
Yeah, it was fantastic. Yeah.
So wherever you are in your 30 degree or below weather, just know rooftops and shandies are traditional and a sign of normalcy.
Yeah. We're getting there one day at a time.
So it's like Groundhog Day, with like if things are going to go back to normal if you see brewers on a rooftop drinking shandy.
Holy shit, that
sounds amazing.
We should find one thing a year that becomes Groundhog Day, but for breweries.
Do we just do?
You can see if the mash pedal produces a shadow.
Oh, it's like a tradition, or it's like a superstition type thing?
A fake tradition.
I like that.
If the brewer stirring in the mash, if you can see his crack, then...
I was going to say, like, if you pass your starch test after, like, 20 minutes of mashing, but I like yours better.
I don't. I don't.
If your glycol machine breaks mid-fermentation, you've got 4 more weeks of summer.
Then you're pitching Kvike yeast. And you're calling it a Blondale. Well, those are my topics. Anything else happening interesting in your all's life? Any interesting social topics this week? Anything cultural to discuss? I can't think of anything. We did tax returns. That was a big thing in the news, or the investing rather.
We talked about tax returns?
Well, no, I should have said that, like the corrupt politicians investing.
I don't think they were filing tax returns.
Yeah, probably not. I wonder if you do have to file taxes if you're like a senator.
No. We could talk about how the city shuts down when there's a...
Let's save that for our political podcast, the Kentucky Commons Politics Hour, coming up next.
Coming live from Frankfort, Kentucky.
Yeah.
And cut.
All right. Thank you for sticking around, guys. We will be back with you next week. If you guys see any topics out there, shoot them our way. We are always looking for fun things to discuss, both at home and abroad. Thank you, David. Thank you, Michael. Thank you, me. Thank you, Frankie, for not whining and throwing a fit this week.
And if you like what you heard and you want to hear more,
listen.
We got a Patreon.
Oh, yeah. We do have a Patreon. You can go there and support us. Yeah. For as little as $3 a month, which is probably about the price of a dark partake beer. You can help us continue to spread the good word and to hopefully bring you terrible content.
And if you can't, though, please leave a rating and
share
and share and give a good comment and review. Listen, tell your friends to listen. I will say that Spotify this week just released the ability to rate podcasts.
Yeah.
So if
you guys know what I think about Spotify,
if you are one of our Spotify listeners, please go ahead and rate us 5 stars because that's a completely new platform. We could, with your help, fly to the top of the beer podcast lists if enough people give us 5 stars immediately.
Absolutely.
And if you can't do that,
hey,
just consider having a beer and consider pondering John's ongoing therapy efforts.
I'm doing great.
Yeah, that's what they say.